Beautiful child number 1. I am Bill, the first of those 9 beautiful children. I am very happy I was the first child. I am very happy I was the first child because I have Mom and Dad a little longer than the rest. Not much longer, but a year or so. I can always say that Mom and Dad have been so good to us. We never went hungry, as you can see if you look around at the 6 wonderful children today. When our daddy was out of work, he would go to where the work was. I would look for him to come home every night. We didn't have much entertainment in those days, so we would have Mom sing some religious songs. When she would sing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," I would cry and run and crawl into the house, where some big old dogs, who stayed under there to keep cool, they were covered with fleas. So I would have to be defleed every time. Anyway, Skeet and Theo had Mom to sing my crying song 3 and 4 times a day, so they could see my dogs had company often. Mother and Dad always taught us to love each other. Also taught us to go to church and Sunday school and how to be a Christian. I will always cherish that. One thing I really do appreciate is that our mother and daddy did not get a divorce. What lucky children we were. I wish I had done that much for my 3 wonderful children. But that is all under the bridge now. One highlight in my life is that our Mom and Dad had our brother Joe when I was 11. What a joy he was. I bet I carried him 1,000 miles on my hip. That's why I'm one-sided. I loved every minute of it. He was so beautiful and still is. I didn't do much growing up. I only ate the rat poison, fell in a pot of soap suds and a barrel of water, and also I fell in the deep well trying to save a rat. I fell off a gray horse, and he stomped on my face. I drove Dad's old Model T Ford down a fence, took up 8 to 10 posts. I also drove it up a tree and then kept laughing. I was alone, and I had to get out the open gate. Then I came back and got in the back seat, and no one in front. This could go on, but I love you, Mother and Daddy, and we are lucky kids to have you. B. Dear Lee and Abby, I don't think you need any advice on a lasting marriage after 60 years, so I am wishing both of you a very happy 60th anniversary. I kind of like you both. From your many times married son-in-law, Lyman. Says at the bottom, time out for donuts. Beautiful child number 2. I remember my childhood as a very pleasant one. I could write 1 page on the bad and a big book on the good. But there is one part that stands out. In 1922, we lived in a small town called Whitewright, Texas. My dad said, let's move back to the farm. So he took off, and we got letters from him, but didn't see him for 2 weeks. Then late one afternoon, he came in a covered wagon with 2 big black mules pulling the wagon. Boy, to me, that was a Lincoln Continental. The next morning, we left for Lone Oak, Texas. That must have been at least 60 miles away. We stayed all night in a livery stable. If you just camped, it was free. But being the good sport like my dad always was, he paid 50 cents and pulled under a big shed. There must have been 30 or 40 wagons around there, and I know that it must have been the Holiday Inn at that time. We even had our own private campfire. The next 2 nights, we stayed near a farmhouse or alongside the road. We arrived at the farm, and I thought it looked like a mighty fine farm. The house had been made of logs, but there had been a frame addition, and that made it very comfortable. After we had been there about a year, we had a little bad luck. Joe was born. But we survived that too. But that's the way I remember my childhood. Nothing but a good dad and mother that made it that way. Skeet. Beautiful child number 3. Okay. Dad and Mom, I love you. Thank you for taking care of all us kids. I don't remember much fighting in our family. We must have gotten along pretty well. You can't expect too much of me, as these dang brothers of mine always said. I was sitting up noticing when I was 8 years old. But I do remember this. Our dad always had worked hard, and we kids had to help out too. I remember many times when we would go out to the field and pick cotton, we had to sit there cold and wrapped in my cotton sack, waiting for daylight so we could start to work. I enjoyed playing card games with my dad. And at night in winter, we would all sit around an old potbelly stove and play Hula-Go, a game where you would try to guess how many pecans the other one had in his hands. That's what we used to do before we had television. My mom, I love her. I remember Mama when she would be working around the kitchen, always singing or whistling. I remember the song, Blessed Book, Dear Book, and also Standing on the Promises, and What a Friend. I don't know if Mom realized it or not, but I was hearing every word. And if this book was good enough for my mom, it was good enough for me. I, for one, will promise you, I will be with you on that bright day. Not because I'm good, I'm not, but because I'm standing on the promises of God, just like your song. Well, I would like to add a little about Maxine. You said she took a long time to walk. That's because I dropped her on her head. And I've been paying for it ever since. I really enjoyed Ray and Maxine when they were babies. After all, I was old enough to notice things, only 16 years old. I love all my brothers and sisters very much. I remember Bee telling stories, making them up as she went along. Ski and I used to ride horses a lot and had a lot of fun. And Joe, I love you very much. I always compare you to Jesus. When I think of how much I love Jesus, I say he is an older brother that I have never seen. And I love him like I love Joe, only more. I like our mom. I hope to see you all in heaven. Love always, Theo.